Welcome back to The Awakening. I'm Father Justin Waltz, and this is episode number 4 of my interview with Lance Goetz, who was hit by a train. In our last episode, we talked about the many surgeries he underwent to get him stabilized, and even an out-of-body experience in which he saw his mother in the ICU waiting room and his father on the dairy farm, which I couldn't help but to just kind of pause there for a second. Maybe you could describe the dairy farm in North Dakota for our listeners who maybe would be unfamiliar with that environment.
Well, I grew up Gen X. How many people have trouble with that environment? You know, at home when the lights turn on, the street lights. But I didn't have street lights. We had a farm. I was born on a Friday. To be born on a Friday in a dairy farm meant on that next day, on that Saturday, my mom had me in the milk parlor with her so she could go to work. There was no weekends off. There was no Christmas off. There were no holidays. The idea that we could be done at 5 o'clock, them's banking hours, not real man hours, Ultimately, I grew up in an environment where we as a family pulled together for our own survival. We were their children and we were their employees. I remember our first house. I shared a small basement room with my brothers, and part of the floor was dirt. So, and we heated it with a coal furnace where we'd have to shovel in coal and take the ashes out. Ultimately, it was a good home though. It was a good home. We were safe, protected. My parents worked tirelessly to make sure that we could have a different home though, a better home. So by the time I was 7, they were able to build up and get a loan and build a house out there so we could have a nicer place. I have 3 other siblings. They're all older. I was the youngest, which means I was the biggest pain, if you ask my siblings at least. But it was something where I learned more from my siblings than I did, I think, from my parents, because we were always together. They were my teachers and best friends, my parents as well. We worked together on the farm. We were often working in. We went first to public schools, and public schools were a lot different, especially out in the country, in a small country school. All the boys my brothers and I, we all kind of fooled around and fought a little bit on the playground, but my brother got in a little trouble for fighting. And so at that point, solving problems with might, instead of right, that's when my parents decided, really, we should maybe start sending our kids to Catholic schools. And then that's actually how I met Father Waltz and by going to Catholic schools, cathedral, and growing up. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. I didn't see it then because I was a kid, but the extra struggle I had was one of the greatest blessings I could have ever asked for. I almost want to give my own kids a little bit extra struggle because I know how much it will help them in our development. We shy away from anything that might be uncomfortable, but really, I was working in a field, driving a dump truck at 11 years old, helping my family bring in the crop. I was able to work from sun up to sundown and be a part of the process. I was able to learn responsibility and be able to accomplish tasks that kids just are even afraid of. I was taking apart engines, maybe not always successfully putting them back together, but I was taking them apart when I was not even a teenager yet. I was able to live a very good life close to the earth. And when I got hurt, my parents, it was a big deal that they bring me home. We were just under a month. They thought I'd be in there for 3 months in the beginning, but eventually they were able to bring me home, and I had to sleep in a special hospital bed in our living room. And it was set up where basically I was on display all the time. I didn't have a room, but my family was around me all the time. And even in the hospital, I had people visiting. As soon as I got out of the intensive care unit, people would start visiting. And I had friends coming in constantly. It was so much easier when I suffered with friends because I worried about how they felt. I knew I caused people to cry. I know I made people upset, and I didn't like that I caused any kind of problems like that. If I made someone laugh, great. If I made someone cry, who wants to do that? But when I was even at the farm for a good solid 3-4 months, people were coming out almost every day. But eventually that had to slow down. My friends graduating high school, they went to college or they had other stuff to do. And it became lonelier and lonelier. And I became more and more isolated. I remember my mom asking me to go see a pain specialist because she could tell I was having troubles. She could even see me in my sleep, moaning in my sleep, and she wanted me to be more comfortable. I can't imagine for a mother to see their son have to bring him food every day, clean up every day, and see him suffer every day. And I had a colostomy bag because, well, the train tore a hole about the size of a volleyball in my backside. I had to be taken care of top to bottom. And for me, I went from being a football player, basketball player, to just having dreams that I could play it. And when I was first hurt, I had a much easier time keeping the faith because I believed it would be temporary. I believe, like most injuries, they'd only last a little bit. I would heal. I even had a thought that I could heal my legs and maybe go on to play basketball at a community college if I healed good enough, which was nonsense. I should have. The fact that I even have legs, that I wasn't amputated, that I'm not paraplegic from losing my tailbone. I mean, that alone is astronomical odds, but that alone is a miracle that I can walk. But I wanted more. I was able to do a lot more before I got hurt. And the longer I was hurt, the more the surgery started to fail. The first time I had to put weight on my leg bent, like literally bent to the side. So, well, another surgery. And then that didn't work. Oh, another surgery. Eventually, after 3 rods down my right leg, they decided to try an external fixator. And it was the doctor's first time putting it on a fixator. And he believed he could do it, and I had faith he could do it. But it was loose, and it was painful. And it kept me up. So after about 2 years, I can remember that night perfectly because I was up almost every night from the pain. The swelling made the Father Waltz will show you a picture so you can see a little bit of what I'm talking about.
We can actually go to that picture right now.
The pins that were running perpendicular through my leg, the problem was it wasn't tight, so it was loose, so it was wiggling. As I was moving around, it was wiggling, and it swelled up, and it was so agonizing. It kept me up. Most nights I got maybe 2-3 hours of sleep. And I would be up when my mom and dad would go milk cows all the time. I'd be up when they got in. I couldn't sleep because of the pain, and I just couldn't understand. I remember writing my journal, thinking that I had a lawsuit possible with the railroad. I remember writing, how much money is this pain worth? Is it worth $1 million? Not worth $1 million. It's worth 10. And monetary wise, no money was worth what I was going through. It was just too much. And as I'm alone and no friends are visiting, my parents are trying, my family's trying, my brother is trying, my outlook became more bleak. And I realized that my life is going to be chronic pain forever, that I can't escape this. And that this pain with my leg that was keeping me awake, it led me to a place of desperation. And we all have those moments when we will have to decide, do I continue to suffer with Christ and faith, or do I decide to suffer with nothing? And for a while there, I made the wrong choice. That night, I remember trying to have a conversation, thinking of Job as some cosmic gamble, and trying to talk to God about what I was feeling and what I was going through. And I remember as the tears were crying, I don't cry often, but I was crying hard that night as I tried to talk to God, and I wasn't being very nice. Asking him why, trying to understand just why wouldn't he make me heal better? Why wouldn't the surgeries work? Why do they keep failing? Why do I have this thing on my leg? Why am I hurting like this? Why? And eventually I broke down and I swore, I cursed at God. And it was like instantaneous. It was in a second. I could feel like the weight that was holding me up was gone. I could feel like that sinking feeling, where that gut turning feeling where everything just, my whole chest felt like a weight was on it all of a sudden. Like everything that I was dealing with. And I apologized immediately. I'm sorry, God. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I'm just hurting. But after that moment, for a couple of years, I didn't go to God. I thought I could find a way with medication or with trying to find the next good feeling. Instead of going to God, I tried to do it myself, because I didn't think God liked me very much at that moment. And I was wrong. That feeling of extreme weight after I said it should have told me, but pain can be very selfish in the end. And I think I was just so blinded at that point. I couldn't see the truth.
I think, and you would probably agree with me, unless you've been through that level of pain, for all those watching, I know I haven't. And just to try to get through those early months, those early years, without God, it must have been very challenging, and even with God, it would be very challenging. So I appreciate your honesty here, Lance, and sharing that. We've all been in various places in our life. Just off the set, we were talking about how everybody's pain is very unique to them, and I think we've all felt lost at various times in our life. Which will bring us to episode number 5, in which Lance will share with us the challenges of the long-term recovery that he faced. This is The Awakening, and I'm Father Justin Waltz. Please subscribe and join us for episode number 5 with my interview with Lance Goetz, who was hit by a train.